Stephen A., who you got?
Oh, please, roll tide, baby. You know I'm not going up against Alabama. I mean, ain't nothing to talk about here. Nothing but respect for Jimbo Fisher. Francois is gifted. Obviously, he's expected to do some things. This kid, Derwin James, I mean, he's special. We'll see what he's going to do for Florida State. But in the end, what it comes down to is that Nick Saban has had weeks to prepare. And when Nick Saban has weeks to prepare for a team, look out. It's potentially a slaughter. I don't anticipate that will be the case here for Alabama, Florida State, but nevertheless, because I got such respect for Jimbo Fisher and Florida State. But in the end, what it comes down to is that I expect Alabama to roll because that's what they do. And I'm interested in seeing Jalen Hurts and how he responds. Off of last year, I heard Lane Kiffin talking about how they would have won the national championship if he was still the offensive coordinator for that national championship game. Fair enough, but Jalen Hurts has had opportunities to develop. We'll see what he does. We'll see how far he comes. To me, he'll determine it, but I'm still going to roll with Nick Saban, a defense that he came on my radio show and basically said was a little bit soft. They needed to get a little nastiness in them. I happen to know that Alabama, Max, listens to my radio show just like they watch First Take. I'm sure they heard their coach call them a bit soft or a bit too nice, rather, and they took offense to that. I expect them to take it out on Florida State. I expect them to answer the bell, and I expect Alabama to win by about 14.
Look, largely we have the same thing, the same analysis about this, I think, as most people do. There's a reason that Alabama's favored by a touchdown. They're favored by 7 points, touchdown and the extra point. Because Nick Saban had a whole offseason to prepare for an opponent. You think he's going to lose? How often does Alabama start the year 0-1? Even if they're playing, it's a terrific matchup, by the way, but even if they're playing the number 3 ranked preseason team, it doesn't really happen because Nick Saban is the greatest coach in the history of college football by such a large measure. It's ridiculous. Like, there's nobody else in his class. He is the Bill Belichick, and from the Belichick coaching tree, of college football. There's no one near him. And you think about Alabama, they're favored in every game. Every year, they're favored in every game. They were favored. Think about what it took in the national title game last year for Alabama to lose. Everything going the other team's way. The best player on the field had to be the quarterback on the other team. Every little thing just to squeak by the skin of their teeth with a win over Alabama. Clemson did. I mean, that's the kind of team that Nick Saban puts together every single year. You look at Hurts. You bring up Jalen Hurts a lot. He was a freshman quarterback, a real freshman quarterback, and he was pretty good. He wasn't great against elite teams. He did enough to win in every game except the national title game, which they barely lost. But he was a real freshman quarterback. Well, now he's a freshman quarterback who just played, or a sophomore quarterback who just played in the national title game and barely lost and is coming off a good season. And meantime, Francois is a stud, no doubt about it. He's really good. But he's up against the Alabama defense, which year in and year out, we compare to a pro defense in terms of how good and how effective they are on the college level. So yes, I like Alabama too. Nick Saban ain't starting the season 0-1. And I think a little bit more of Hurts than you do, I think, Stephen A.